in my opinion, video has been no longer a luxury. Like, it's definitely necessary, especially if you want to scale online. Like, you want to bring in more leads.
Only if you want to grow your business.
Yeah, exactly. So
Funny how.
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you? We interrupt this program to bring you a special...
Ben Mangum.
what's going on,
Dude.
good to see you.
Dude, with our rings combined. You see that?
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
Married.
That was a little after Tony's time.
To the death. So this is fun. We are recording. It looks like we're recording. See, we did last time you were over here, we did a podcast. Unlike me, I didn't press the record. Well, technically I did press the record button, but I was doing some mic tests beforehand. And, you know, sometimes, you know, if there's other podcast or creators out there, if you have multiple mics going, I'm more of a visual guy. So I look at my Rodecaster Pro and I check the levels. I give it a tap, but I mute the other ones because sometimes there's feedback from other mics. I ended up muting all of them accidentally. So we had a great hour-long conversation.
You know, either way, it was just a good conversation. You know, not too often you don't get distracted by phones. So we were just locked in talking about life.
That's right.
It's all good.
And dude, that to me is like the best part about having the podcast is like, I don't even know where my phone's recording, but normally I don't know what my phone is doing. I don't know where it's at. I set it down. Usually I have the headset on.
Yeah.
And you know, you're in this conversation. I feel like kind of similar to how we were just talking out there with the girls. It's different when you're with a group of people, it's fun and it's cool, but sometimes you get bored. When there's a lot of conversations, you can whip out your phone and you just fucking scroll, or maybe you're taking a photo and then one photo turns into like, oh, let me see the Instagram. Oh, I got 5 emails. Let me check that. But when you're on a podcast, it's like,
yeah. And that, you don't really get that too often nowadays. I don't personally. Like every now and again, you're very locked in and like talking to someone, but it's also too, you're like, okay, this is being recorded. Let's say something meaningful here.
Right.
Whether it's we're saying something, you know, funny, or you're trying to share something that's helpful, or you're telling your story. You're trying to like really articulate yourself. It's a skill to be, I guess I want to say authentic.
Yeah.
And of course you're being yourself, but at the same time you want to like, okay, let's give the people something
I know what you mean.
that's worth listening to.
Yeah, and I think when I first started the podcast, I started off more entertainment, you know?
Yeah.
Where sometimes I would fluff stories. Sometimes I would have a guest on and I'd be like, hey, bro, make sure we talk about this. Make sure we talk about, you know, and not that I would give them questions. I've never 200 and I don't even know. I think I'm at like 265, maybe 200. Yeah, 265 episodes maybe. And not one of those have I ever said, I'm going to ask you this question.
Oh, okay.
In fact, to the contrary, if someone says, hey, these are a couple questions that I want you to ask me, I go, I'm not going to do that. I was like, if you want to use critical thinking and try to work that in yourself, that's cool, but I'm not going to ask you questions. Like, we're not going to. So I've even turned down interviews or guests rather, because they wanted to kind of do like a CNN thing. So I think, you know, originally I was like, I had this idea of the podcast of like, I'm going to make this fun and I'm going to have guests on and I'm going to do that. But now it's kind of evolved to like just having conversations with people. And almost every guest I would say that I've had a conversation with, I've never met in person. Like, because I do everything virtually typically.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So I've never met these people in person. I just reach them out in the DM. And the first time we ever see each other is on the podcast. And I think that is such a cool...
It's a unique experience.
It's so unique, dude.
Yeah.
And it's definitely made me more open-minded because there's a lot of beliefs, politically rather, and, you know, otherwise, that I've changed based off some conversations. And then also, too, like I've become more relaxed on certain topics that maybe I cared a little bit more about.
Yeah.
But once I heard a different perspective on things, I'm like, you know, that's a good point. Why am I taking this so seriously? Like, so it's kind of made me a better human as well, I think.
Yeah.
Just having those conversations. But I think it's important to have them with strangers. I think you get the most out of that because you and I know each other. We've known each other for years. So like, I probably know what you're going to say. You know what I'm going to say. We have fun conversations. It's not that it's a surprise. It's always good, obviously, to talk. But like, there's certain things we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Just instinctually.
Yeah.
And we're not planning it. It's just, it's what we're going to talk about,
it's
right?
what you have in common, or it's what you can,
it's only
relate
natural
to each other about. Yeah.
I mean, same thing with my wife. Like, I fucking know what our conversation is going to be about. There's no...
Yeah.
So I think keeping a level of surprise is kind of what makes a conversation unique. And I think that's why, you know, people should try to have more conversations that way.
Yeah, I never thought of podcasts like that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So that's how I think about it. And also, too, FaceTiming. One thing I've been doing a lot lately is, like, friends that I don't talk to a lot, like over a year, like not a text on it, but I should. I just randomly FaceTime them.
Nice.
Yeah. And that is like...
That can be an experience sometimes.
Dude. Well, the reason I like it now is because now you can leave a video voicemail.
I didn't know that.
On FaceTime.
Nice.
Update your fucking phone. But you can leave a video voicemail. So, like, you know.
Yeah.
I left, like, I don't even know, probably this month, like 5 video voicemails of folks that I haven't talked to in a year. I don't know if they're going to open it. Maybe they changed their number. I don't know. But I'm just envisioning the look on their face.
Yeah, it's cool.
When they're, who the fuck? Tony, what the fuck? Why is he? And then they get this 2-minute rant of me. You know what I mean? I think that's, people need to start doing that more.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Love it.
And of course, you're like, FaceTime, what's that? If you have an Android. Well, first, don't have a friend that has an Android, number 1. But number 2, get yourself an iPhone. Or use Instagram video chat or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's only like IT guys and tech guys that
the smart
have
guys.
The Android. Yeah.
It's the smart ones. Which
the Android's much better. I'm like, all right, bro.
It's so much better,
Do your
though,
thing.
I feel like. Yeah. I don't know. Do you find yourself talking to friends more or less now that you're married? Because I think the last time you were here, you just got married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a year ago.
Right.
A little over a year, back in May.
Yeah.
It's less, yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 of my closest friends are business owners, so you're both... You know,
Sure.
Let's say you have the business stuff going on with that. One of my good friends has a kid, so you know you just respect their time a little bit more. It's like, all right, I'm not going to call them and talk about nothing, or I don't know if I.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I try to make an effort to link up with them as much as possible.
Sure. That's tough.
Yeah, I kind of don't think about it that much because you're also so busy yourself. And then, but also, like I said, I think it's cool, like when you have people who are business owners or that have stuff going on, like you both just respect that you're like working towards something and you're busy. So it's not like, oh, I don't get to see my friend anymore. It's like, dude, we're making our lives better. And
Yeah, I think that's the perception of some people, depending on how old you are. I mean, if you're over 30, this is common knowledge. But yeah, if you're younger than 30, you always think like I have younger friends and they're always like, you know, friends are like, you know, these long lasting relationships and you gotta keep those relationships going. And I was like, do you though? Like you want to, for sure.
Yeah.
But when you have your own life going, like the only people that usually preach that are who? The people that are single.
Yeah.
People that don't have a life. Like no married guy with 3 kids is saying, you know, friendship is the most important thing. Like what?
Yeah, not the most important.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely important, but it's like I barely have time to hang out with my parents. I feel so bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's but it's just one of those things. I was having a conversation with my parents the other day where it's like, now that we have a kid, I don't I've seen my parents less.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's not for lack of not wanting to hang out with them, obviously. It's just if I saw them once a week, now it's once every 2 weeks or once every 3 weeks. It's because now we have, you know, Brenda's pumping, she's doing her thing. But then also it's like, she doesn't want people around for that. And then, you know, it's like the time that you do have, you want to do the right things for the kid and hang out with the kid. And also you just are exhausted and you don't have the time to hang out with other people. So it's like mentally, physically, it's like it's a drain, but if they're really good friends, I feel like they should stick it out.
I think any decent human understands that people are busy and like anyone who makes someone feel bad for not making time to go to the bar together, like, dude, fuck off. Like,
fuck that.
I've never experienced that, but of course you hear. But,
like if you ever have kids, you'll experience it. But again, it's always the people that don't have that going on, right? Yeah, like it's the same jabroni when he's like, you know, what are you doing married to that girl? And you're like, Bill, you're divorced. Like, what are you talking about? Like, when you were married, you were locked in your house doing things with your wife. But now that you're divorced, of course, you're going to try to give people relationship advice. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you just have to block out the noise. And
yeah, fortunately, I just don't have those type of people in my life, which is
yeah. I mean, I learned a long time ago, cut those people out. You know, there's a handful of friends that I have that are great friends that I never talk to except like once a month. And it's like I saw them yesterday.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Or like you. Like we talk all the time, but it's like we don't have to talk every single week.
No, of course not.
You know, and that's what's so great about connecting and like being in this space, like the creator space too, is you're connecting with people all the time. You're learning from new people. You know, you're kind of experiencing these new things, at least for me anyway, whether it's just connecting with brands or connecting with people. And then kind of what you do as well. I mean, same thing, where you're like connecting with brands and businesses. Yeah. And I mean, how is that transition? Because you're still working for yourself.
I am, yeah.
Congrats by that.
Thanks.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kind of walk me through like that whole process of on a day-to-day basis when it comes to working with clients.
Like what does my day-to-day look like?
Yeah.
Man, it does vary. I am trying to get more structured where like certain days of the week are dedicated to certain things.
Sure.
If I'm being completely transparent, it's, you know, a lot of times it's like all over the place of like doing one thing and another.
Running a business.
So I do about 2 to 3 shoots a week, and those are usually like half days. So in the mornings, you get as much done as you can on the computer, whether that's like emails, messaging people, planning stuff, writing content, or editing, which, you know, I'm working on getting away from. But
you still editing on your own?
I am, yeah. I have one editor to help me with short form,
right?
But some of the other stuff, I still edit, which
it's time consuming.
Definitely,
it's time consuming.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, writing ideas, planning, or just like getting things done for the back end, if you will, of what's important. Like right now, I need to work on making a video that you send out to people before you have a meeting with them. Like they call it a VSL, but like video sales letter. Yeah. Which sometimes you kind of underestimate how long things take or how much planning certain things take. So I'm just working on prioritizing that kind of stuff more.
Yeah. And you've been doing it for a while. I mean, you've been working
a year and a half. Back full time, a year and a half. So I started during COVID.
It's a good call. Going back to.
Yeah. And 2022, I worked at an ad agency, and then back at the beginning of last year, I went back full time. And yeah, it's been good. Just been growing. I'm actually proud to say, I mean, right now I just saw at the 6-month mark, I hit last year's total year revenue goal. So
epic.
Yeah, things are moving, man.
I mean, as long as it stays consistent. I mean, that's,
of course,
that's one thing I learned, especially because I'm going on almost 3 years, I think, almost 2.5 years, really ramping up this last year for sure. But year over year, it's been, 20% more.
Yeah.
And one thing I found in particular when it comes to like trying to innovate the business is just more.
Yeah, more inputs. Yeah.
Like how can I do more?
Yeah.
And then cutting out, like kind of circling back, cutting out the things I was doing that was affecting me with that output.
Yeah. So you want to really blow your mind, or even more, is we were doing this exercise. I was telling you how I was on that meetup or whatever.
Yeah.
And so take the amount of money you made last month, take that total number, and then take, let's say you work 40 hours in a week, or take the amount of hours you work in a week and then times that by 4.
Okay.
So take your monthly revenue and divide that by the total amount of hours you worked last week. Now you know what your time is worth per hour. And for some people, it's a lot more per hour than they think. Some people it's less whatever. Yeah. And now that you know that number, you're like, okay, I should not be doing tasks that are worth $10 an hour or $20 an hour when my time's worth $100 an hour or whatever. And so, you'll start to think about it even more of like, what inputs do I need to be doing? Which ones do I need to stop doing? And all that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's fresh on my mind because I just was thinking about it.
Yeah, that's such a good way of looking at it too. Like, I mean, what the eye opener for me, I think, was after I've been creating content for brands for over 2 years, when I got to the point to where brands were so satisfied by the content I was putting out or the advice or the consulting, whatever, that they were like, hey, can you do this like for 6 months for us? Here's a contract. This is the rate. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. So you don't want me to just create one thing for you and then you're never going to see me again? Like, this is something that we can build a relationship off of. And then I'm like, okay, so maybe I could charge a little bit more then. Because if I can just increase the amount of input to that one client, instead of just making a video for this brand, maybe I make a video, but I also do the SEO research.
Yeah.
Maybe I find the trending sound, the trending topic, or, whatever, depending on the brand. Like, maybe I could do more for that brand to get more value out of it so I could charge more.
Exactly.
Turns out that brand said yes. I go, whoa, let me do that with all the brands I'm working with.
Yeah.
And now it's piling on. So now the brands that come out with a number that I'm not satisfied with, that's lower, I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah,
because now I'm working instead of, the quantity that we all think is important, which it is in some aspect. But when it comes to the quality, when I'm working with one client that's willing to, pay me for 5 services, that's better than me outsourcing or reaching out to other brands, trying to hustle to that work when I could just spend all the time building this relationship for years and getting more money out of that brand or that client or however you can relate your business to that. But that to me is the most important thing when it comes to like quantity versus quality is you could do both, but if you could figure out how to do more for that one client, like we talked about this earlier, right? Like services in particular, in your instance, you do one thing for that, they're going to keep coming back for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the difference of getting paid for your time versus getting paid for the end result that you're getting them, the value that you're delivering to them. So you're talking about the 5 different things, SEO or research, whatever. It's like, okay, this is a lot more valuable than the 4 hours it took you to make this one video.
Right.
And that changes the whole equation. And then once you experience that and you get paid more, you're like, okay, I don't want to go back to this other stuff.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
And you can start saying no to things too.
Oh, that's great. When you can be more picky.
That's the big thing, man. Well, especially with, now with the kid, we're doing these shifts. So like I take the morning shift. So I get up every morning and I used to do cold plunge workouts on all that shit. I do that like 3 times a week now just because it's too much. But I get up in the morning, I take the dog and my daughter for a walk. We come back, I work out in the gym. She's with me. She's in her bouncer. She's having a good time watching daddy swing kettlebells. She has no fucking idea what's happening probably. And then we have breakfast and then we play for like 2 hours. I put her down for a nap and then I can start work like around noon.
Nice.
And then I got to go hard from noon to 5, right? And then if she gets up from her nap, the wife takes over. So it's like now I'm working less essentially, right? And we know being in this business, I mean, the hardest thing is building up a client base. But let's say you're starting from 0, you don't have any clients. You have to email, DM. You have to get a lot of
outreach,
dude. And that outreach, the problem is you could spend.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, and it's a law of averages. And you could spend 3 hours doing it, but guess how much money you're making? 0.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So like to try to figure out how to juggle that was the hardest thing, and that's when it clicked for me where I'm like, okay, so if I can't outreach as much, then these clients that I am working with, what if I just spend more time with those folks, ask for more money, make up for the money, and now I spend less time outreach, and now I could spend those hours if I need to outreaching and not feel guilty about it because I'm still making more money from those other clients. And I think that's where the quantity and quality also are kind of coincide a little bit. Yeah. But you have to figure out how to juggle that. And that's the hardest thing, bro.
Yeah, and whether you're a creator or a business, I think it's a matter of how you're positioning yourself. Are people coming to you and coming into your world? That's a whole different ball game than trying to outreach to somebody cold and trying to get them interested. But
no doubt,
once you have people coming to you, you can charge more. You can be more choosy of who you work with, and then let's say you, like for us as creators, get people on retainer. It's a whole different feeling. But
it's a totally different feeling for sure.
Totally, yeah. The beginning's the toughest part.
It's stressful. Sure. It's stressful, but it's also, dude, I gotta tell you.
Are you getting most of your clients from Instagram or like people referrals?
If I said most, I mean definitely the majority for sure.
Got it.
Yeah, a lot of referrals though. But I mean a lot of, and I also make a good amount of money from affiliates as well, like affiliate links. So I have a lot of.
I just mean your UGC clients, like the brands who hire you.
Yeah, mostly Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a few from LinkedIn here and there, but I have had a lot of referrals lately. But like the first year, all Instagram.
because it wasn't as popular to like other people
Tony
looking
made it
for
popular.
it to then refer you. Yeah.
Tony made it popular. Yeah,
for sure.
I remember the agency you were working with before. They were nameless, but I think because they're out of business, right? But
damn, bro.
Cut that out. But I ended up doing a lot of work for different agencies, things like that, and they would even say, "This UGC thing, would it work for my business?" And I go, "For sure." There's not one. Here's how crazy UGC is. Okay. I've worked with clients. We talked about this the other day on the phone, where like service-based companies, a lot of stuff with what you do.
Yeah.
They could definitely use UGC. Here's why. Because nobody wants to see a commercial anymore. You know, like I remember you brought me on for that one commercial, which was so fun. And
okay, I'm glad you had fun.
yeah, it was fun for me. I only acted a few scenes. But it was fun because like the production and like all that stuff I really appreciated, and you did a great job on that. But the end result looked fantastic in my opinion, but like that's not going to convert to sales.
Yeah. For what's like the way that the internet's been changing and everything
the internet,
like that,
consumers, people, humans across the board, they just don't want to see it anymore.
Especially when you do interruption marketing, like people scrolling and things like that. Oh, this is a commercial. Like,
yeah, you have 3 seconds. You have 3 seconds. It's evolved so much. Just in the I've been doing UGC for 5 years, but just in the 2 years that I've really gone hard into it, it's evolved so much that in 2020, we're in 2024, in 2020, the hook was invented. Okay?
Yeah.
That's when you need to grab someone's attention. You have 7 seconds to do it. Now it's down to 3. That phased out so fast that now there's a reverse hook.
Yeah.
And then a second hook at the end of the video. So you need a hook, but it needs to be a reverse hook, which is a negative hook. So like instead of saying, hey, here's 3 hacks to be a better parent, here's what you don't do as a parent.
Yeah. It's so different.
So it went from hook, here's 3 hacks to make you a better parent, to now it's, here's what you shouldn't do as a parent.
Yeah, I feel like I always revert to the negative hooks at the beginning, because it's like, this is the biggest mistake I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a great one.
Yeah.
But that's how much, think about how fast that moves. 2020, UGC became really popular on TikTok.
Yeah.
It evolved to the hook, grabbing people's attention in 7 seconds. Now it's evolved to the reverse hook and then another hook at the end in just 4 years.
Yeah. And I've seen people really break down like viral scripts of, they have a rehook in the middle of the video to keep people's attention. And the craziest part is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's
just
so
like
wild.
to keep people going.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. And the one thing I always kind of pitch with my clients when it comes to UGC is it's, even if it's service-based, like I've had clients local, like the Real Maids, shout out Real Maids. It's a cleaning service. They came to my house. They did our entire house for us. And then on top of my rate, I created a video for them, and then I was the voiceover and I did all that, and they ran that as an ad. So I was there, I did the on-site service, right? I saw it happen. I recorded the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then I created a UGC video based off that. I wasn't in it, it was faceless. It was just a bunch of B-roll with my voiceover.
Got it.
But because they serviced my house, I could speak to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Kim Kardashian sponsoring Beyond Meat and never having Beyond Meat.
Yeah, that's different.
Even in the commercial, she was getting backlash because she was biting into the meat. They would cut, and then they would come back, and there was like this perfect hole, but then she wasn't chewing. So they just did this. Someone bit the thing for her, and then they did a quick cut.
Yeah.
That people don't want to see that. They want...
It's fake.
Yeah, they want real authentic stuff.
Yeah.
And then I did another service-based company who did our garage.
Yeah,
Same thing.
I saw that one. Yeah.
So it's like it's definitely possible. It's UGC is the attitude of it's from the user, it's from the customer perspective.
The simplest way to look at it too, I don't know if there may be business owners who don't know, UGC is, it's very similar to a testimonial, but from your point of view, like you're telling the story of what your experience was like working at this business, and because you had a great experience, you're like promoting it and making this content. So I think those are the best ones of like ones that look authentic. You do a really good job at it. Like you're just like, you have the hook, I mean, we don't have to go all into it, but it's just
it's right there.
Yeah, I feel like some people do it tastefully, where you grab people's attention, you're telling a story, and then you recommend them, compared to only trying to sell it. Am I making sense to where like some UGC, it's just like, hey, you need to get this. And shut the fuck up.
Because they want a commission on the back end or something.
Yeah.
And I feel like also too, like, that's the one thing I love about that business is it's clients that I either A, use, or B, they send me stuff first. I use it and I tell them I'm going to give you an honest, reaction to it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not as blatant. Sometimes it is more organic. Incredible. Converted very well for sales.
It's the same thing with content. Like you were talking about how like at first, if you had a hook, you're going to get views.
That's right.
And then at first with UGC, you have a regular person making a cell phone video, it's going to do well, but then people catch on to it. You're like, this is like also fake. Even though it's a UGC video, you're not doing it very good. Yeah. Like we've seen this.
Exactly.
But then when you make it even more like natural looking and authentic, that takes skill. And that's probably where people, that's where your service comes in hand, of like people who are doing it well. Like doing it like how you made the content.
Exactly. And I think that has to do with a lot. You just have to be able to experience some stuff, and you can't always look at the dollar. That was the one thing I learned early on, is like, I turned down a lot of deals of like brands that I wouldn't use, like, because I eat mostly plant-based.
Yeah.
A lot of big brands reach out to me that weren't plant-based.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't eat it.
I feel you.
So like out of my whatever amount of followers I have, if they see one of those ads, automatically I lose authenticity.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, wait, Tony doesn't eat that? What the fuck? That's bullshit. Yeah. And then the next 15 videos I do, they're going to be like, this guy's full of shit.
For sure.
So like, I think that's a big thing too, when you eat, with any content, right? Like you make, whether you're service-based, UGC, or you're just a content creator or podcaster in general, I think you have to forget about the dollar for a second and focus more on the craft.
Yeah.
And the practice and the reason you did it. And, if I don't pick up any new clients, I'll feel good about what I do. If clients want to move away from my service, that's okay. They want to go, but I would feel good about, I can't change what's made me, because then it's not me. Same thing with the podcast. Like, that's why I don't do ads. Like, if you ever listen to my podcast, I'll mention things that I use, but I don't do. So this week, this fucking, I just don't, I don't think people would listen to that, because I fast forward through that shit.
Oh, every time. Spotify, like Joe Rogan, I'm like, da 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 da.
And
da,
Joe.
Da, 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 da.
Joe. Joe.
Which sponsorship don't you like?
Joe. It's all of them, man.
Oh, okay.
Because
you don't like Athletic Greens?
Well, I have Athletic Greens, thanks to Joe Rogan. But the idea of like Spotify makes him do it, obviously, or he accepts these deals, and they're all great products. Not like they're bad products.
This episode is brought to you by Roku.
It's a great Rogan, but it's the only glasses I use. But the idea of like he'll have a guest on, and it's like Graham Hancock, right? And they're like, okay, so we finally found this research where these pyramids, they strategically were faced. Okay, this episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. And you're like, come on, you have to do...
Yeah.
You're doing it on purpose.
I'm just glad I can skip them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me too much.
But wait to the end. Let them finish the point.
Yeah.
And then do it, That's the big thing with ads, is like, come on, what are we doing here, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Has to be authentic. But when it comes to like service-based stuff that you do, are you doing primarily your things in Ocala? Or are you doing more, are you branching out a little bit, Orlando? And like, what do you got going on?
Yes.
A little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah.
Things are going well.
I'm in Central Florida is an odd like place as far as like when you want to target certain areas. So, it's odd
in general, by the way.
Exactly. I've had the most amount of clients in Ocala, the most amount of business owners know me in Ocala. So I'm like, all right, let me just go to where like the least resistance is. And like, there's a bunch of businesses in Ocala as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, let me like niche down to that, like helping Ocala business owners or Ocala area. So you probably saw my post very recently where I'm saying Ocala business owners. And
good post, by the way.
Thanks. And that's why I'm doing it, just for like ads purposes. Mm-hmm. And then, cause like, let's say you see an ad, like we're talking about, if I just said, hey, service-based business owners, like it's not really going to hit the same compared to like, if you're a service-based business in Ocala and this is what's going to, or, you know, if this is the pain point you're experiencing, this is how you can fix that, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you're targeting that local area, it's just going to be more effective.
Sure.
Basically.
From an SEO standpoint as well. I mean, yeah. For sure.
Or I'm doing it through Instagram, but still, same concept.
And then are you finding from your clients that because a lot of people don't realize, I mean, we know content's important, but the clients that you talk to, because I know you've ramped up big time. I mean, are you starting to find that people are like, okay, social media we know how important it is, or are still people fighting back on they need to put out video? Because video, people don't understand, like video is not even the future. Video is the beginning of what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like the same people that are like, you know, email is not how we should communicate. Let's continue to use letters.
Yeah.
I feel like still people are like, video is not that important.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So in my opinion, video has been no longer a luxury. Like it's definitely necessary, especially if you want to scale online. Like you want to bring in more leads.
Only if you want to grow your business.
Yeah, exactly. So I was actually talking to somebody recently where I'm going to talk shit, but I don't even care. Because like when you meet people in groups like BNI, which is like a referral networking group, these people live, breathe, and die by BNI. And I had a good experience in there. Like I met a lot of great friends, and I don't regret my experience in there. But it's just an example of how like if you get in certain rooms, people like, no, I get all my business from referrals, which referrals are great, of course. But it's like if you want to scale with like predictability and like, and you have like you're already an established business, you have the capital to invest in marketing. It's like, why wouldn't you do something that like you can predict how many, like we got X amount of leads coming in, our closing ratio is X, like you can, So, and then there's just like the obvious ones of like the amount of people who are on social media every day. So,
well, and it's like, if you're a company, what is your marketing budget? So let's say your marketing budget is $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
What are you spending that money on?
Exactly.
Is it TV commercials? Because it shouldn't be. Is it billboards? Shouldn't be. Like what?
Yeah.
Is it ad spend? Okay, so what are you promoting? A static post that has like Black Friday sale?
Yeah.
That's the wrong thing to post. Like you shouldn't spend money on those ads. It should be video. And the reason is not because video is, like you said, video is a necessity. It's because that's what the consumer wants.
Exactly.
Consumer doesn't want, I mean, look at Instagram. We look at Instagram as like the leader in social media, right? And as well as Facebook, but Instagram is the leader. That's just a fact. Like if you are Kim Kardashian, someone is looking at, you know, her Instagram followers.
Yeah.
Their count, their whatever. That's legitimacy. Like people don't go to a website anymore. They usually go to their Instagram, their social media. And that's not because people don't like looking at websites. Websites are very valuable, but people like looking at video. And they do that on Instagram and TikTok. So it's like, what is your marketing budget then? If you were spending $100,000, right? What's your CRM? What's your CPM? Like what exactly are you, what's the output? And what are you getting back from that output? And is it worth the money? Because if it's not, you need to reevaluate some things.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
I think when it comes to like, let's say you have 100,000, like X amount needs to go towards ad spend, X amount needs to go to producing content,
right?
And let's just say social media in general, whether you need to like manage it or whatever, like have an employee that does it.
Yeah.
And then maybe for like local businesses, like some type of in-person marketing, like you need a booth, you need to like pay to be at this event. Like I get it. Like sometimes in-person is great for sure.
Yeah.
But like other than that, it's like, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what do you got going on? And I mean, again, that's the thing where people just have to either get with experts or they have to understand that times are changing and they just have to evolve and grow.
Yeah, I've been at the point where I no longer try to convince people that they need video. Like, it's a beautiful thing when you have people coming to you, they already understand, like, I need to be doing content. Like, they understand the benefits. They just need to learn more about the details. Okay, we have a certain amount of budget. They call it video strategy. Like strategy is just prioritizing what content do we need to prioritize. Okay, we have this budget. What type of content do we need to prioritize for where we're at in our business and based on our goals?
That's right.
So they know they need video, but like, okay, what does that look like? And those are the type of people I love to talk to compared to, I never try to convince people of like, well, a video is 95% of people buy if there's a video on your landing page. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
That is true, because I mean, I think there is two types of businesses, right? And those are it's those types of businesses. And you look at like the big Fortune 500 companies that are going bankrupt now, right? Express. There's a plethora of companies that are filing for Chapter 11. And then you go back, and it sounds silly, but you go back and look at their social media, and it's like, so it's static posts of the new line that they're launching and this and that. And all they had to do was give me a tour of their retail store, or maybe like a creator that's well known doing a haul and trying on the products.
Yeah, product-based businesses have to work with creators. Yeah. It's so necessary to like really connect with people and really, like showcase what the end product is going to do for the consumer.
Because people are more visual. I mean, we talked about it earlier out there, where it's like people aren't searching Google anymore. They're going on TikTok and they're searching, best supplement for hair growth or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that way they actually can watch a video or hear a testimonial, or they see a nice, product video or something. Like people just want to consume content that way. They don't want to go to a website and then look at reviews and then go back to Amazon and compare the price on Amazon versus here, when it's like, you can all do it in one spot, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And that's why social media is so prevalent. And I don't think it's going anywhere. I think even with AI coming up, it's just going to make things a little bit more interesting, a little bit more challenging from a creator standpoint. But I think it's going to be video for a long time.
Yeah.
It might not be human made video.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, I'm not personally, for what I do, I'm not worried about AI.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that AI is really going to replace is like stock video.
Sure.
And which can be helpful. Yeah, I don't really care if Storyblocks goes out of business. I mean, that's kind of messed up.
Sorry if you work for Storyblocks.
Yeah. But other than that, like for me, I work with service-based businesses. So it's so necessary to show the people behind the business.
Yeah.
Like who's doing the service. Like you have to show that you're a real business that is trustworthy. Like so many people have their guard up and think they're getting scammed and things like that. So like you have to show real, genuine people, and AI is not going to do that.
No.
So it's...
Well, I even think I was having a conversation with another creator a few weeks ago, and we were talking about this, where he was worried, and he's a content creator too. And I'm like, dude, get excited about it. Like I'm not really worried at all, because if anything, I think it's going to make what we do even better. Like you look at, I don't know, just throwing it out there, like stick arcade games back in the day in the 90s and 80s that we used to play on, right? Versus like Xbox and PlayStation now. It's the same sort of thing. It's games, but one's better, faster, and just more sexy than the other. One you could have at home. One is this massive thing that you see in the bowling alley. So, and that thing's still around, by the way. But it's like, ironically, now, if you want to buy one of those arcade games, how much does it cost? Twice as much as what it used to, because people now value the retro, the nostalgia of that arcade game. And I think that's what the human experience is going to be. So I think in 10 years, if AI takes over, people would pay more premium because they're like, a human made this, so I want to pay more for the human. Does that make sense though?
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. And there's just little tweaks of like, I think when it comes to creating content, it's creative. So like things, I just don't see how, like, yes, there are ways that AI can do a great job, even with tools already now. Like there's, what is it called? Not Podmatch, some kind of tool where you like can edit up a whole podcast with AI.
Oh, Autopod.
Yeah, Autopod.
I use it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so like that's an example of like, boom, it chops it up, but like putting together all these different, like the stories and the emotion and all that stuff. It's just,
It's
I mean, maybe you'll play this clip back in 10 years, but like, how is AI gonna? I don't know.
Yeah. I think AI is something that people are making it a little bit more scary than what it is, and I think we should be worried. But AI is just only taking all the things that creators and Google searches, and it's taking all that and compiling it faster and outputting it faster.
Yeah.
So it's going to make a lot of jobs easier, and it's going to make a lot of people
There's a lot of jobs where people are fucked, for sure.
For sure. Probably more
With
so
what
than
we do. I think we're good for quite a bit of a while.
We're good. Because you can have an AI Ben, but it's not going to be good as the Ben.
Yes.
You can have an AI Tony, it's not going to be good as Tony.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the important thing. And again, that all goes back to kind of full circle where it's like client-based, dealing with people, relationships, podcasting. Mm-hmm. There's AI podcasts right now.
Or you think of AI art, like let's say they had an AI robot paint on a canvas. It's like, it's not going to feel the same as like freaking Picasso did this painting. It's not the same.
It's because
just because it looks exactly like Picasso's, it's not Picasso.
You don't feel like when you look at a Picasso, you feel the blood, sweat, and tears that he
or when you learn more about his story or how he did it, it makes it worth more or like more special to you compared to like, oh, a robot did that. They just like put it in the computer and you just like, I'm like, oh, cool.
Because you know what his story is, the robot? John turned on the robot and then he painted it. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
Picasso, it's like, lost the ear, fucking did this. Right? Was Picasso lost the ear?
I think so.
Yeah.
Was that Van Gogh?
Might have been Van Gogh.
I don't know.
But see, this is the important thing. They all have stories.
Yeah.
And if you stick to that story, that's what makes the art so great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Same thing with creative. So anyway, I could talk to you forever, but we got wives out there. So, and hopefully this was recording. I think it was. So that's positive.
Absolutely.
But Ben, this is fun, man. With our powers combined. Other ring, wedding rings. But let everybody know where they could find you and all that stuff. And I'll leave all the links down below as well for people watching. But yeah, where can people find you? What do they got going on?
Yeah, just go ahead and follow me at Ben C. Mangum on Instagram.
Nice.
I post a lot of content just giving tips around like content tips for service-based businesses. Talk about paid ads and things like that. So if that interests you, go ahead and follow me.
Hit him up.
Yeah.
Ben.
Bane.
Bang.
You thought darkness was your ally.
I was born in it. Molded by it.
I was watching that on my flight back home, actually.
Such a great movie. Only for the voice.
In the dark.
Molded by it. Ben Mangum, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey. One thing. Hold on. Before we stop recording, I've been thinking about this the whole time.
Shoot.
You probably have like one of the most best documented just videos of my journey. I remember the first podcast we did at your condo in Tampa.
Oh yeah.
And dude, I haven't seen it obviously in probably 4 or 5 years, but
wow. I forgot about that.
Yeah, just it's so cool to like look back of like, dude, I don't know if I'm gonna make a website like, or I would think I was just doing photo back. Maybe I did a very little video, and
yeah, you didn't even have your business going.
Not to like toot my own horn, but just like where you can be in 5-6 years, it's insane.
Bro,
or like
preach.
even when I was trying to do the fitness coaching like a year ago, you pivot, you try things out. Like it's really cool just to and it's cool what you're doing basically, like with the podcast and
thanks,
stuff.
man. I appreciate that. It means a lot. And I tell that to Brent all the time because sometimes she thinks, how much you do sponsorships? Like, how do you make? Not really. Like, I don't make enough to justify the time that I spend on this podcast. But it's cool to, especially what I'm doing with my daughter now. It's cool to see. Like, I'm just thinking back. Exactly what you said is beautiful because, like, looking back at episode 1 that I did is horrible.
We should redo your intro again, make another video. Maybe not right now, but
yes, that would be great. I do need one
before and after.
Because think about the evolution of my podcast. It went from nothing really to.
It's funny how you tell the story.
Yeah, yeah. But now it's humanity and hashtags.
Yeah,
I completely
whole new rebrand. Yeah,
and I mainly did that because of the.
I think it's dope.
Thanks, man. And I mainly did that because I think it encompasses kind of what my podcast is about.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's spot on.
Yeah. And it's more sexy to say that than, have you, like, a lot of people can't even pronounce my last name.
Yeah, it's like, who the hell is Berardo?
Berardo, yeah.
But humanity and hashtags, like, oh, what's that about?
Exactly.
And it's spot on, too. You talk about all different types of topics in the world, but then you talk about social media, all that type of stuff. So it's cool. So I love it.
To see that evolution, man, of everything, it's cool to look back for sure, like you said. And even, again, 10 years from now, I'm just so stoked to see.
Where's the merch?
It's coming. I actually do have shirts available. My buddy owns a shirt company.
Okay.
And he prints them. So Humanity Hashtag's officially available over there. I'll leave the links. Good shout out.
Camila's crying. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap this bitch up. Ben Mangum, ladies and gentlemen. Hey.
Stuff like